Hey guys, welcome back to The Other Side, where we talk about people's trials, triumphs, and everything in between, because that's where we believe the magic lies, in the in between. Today, I am so excited to have a friend, a fellow colleague. He is also a real estate agent, but I met him in our Toastmasters. So I am prophesying right now he will be a future speaker. I believe it wholeheartedly. So help me in welcoming Jose Gonzalez to this set. Jose, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I really thought it was important to have you, one, because, you're 26, right? So you're just on the younger side of the spectrum. And I like to inspire everyone at every age. And your story has inspired me. I have been able to hear it in Toastmasters, at least bits and pieces of how you grew up and how things were a little different for you than myself, right? I grew up in a very stable home. My dad worked, my mom stayed home. We were able to just live a very comfortable life. And for you, it wasn't so easy, right? You kind of mentioned that in Toastmasters, you guys would even collect corrugated packaging to recycle to maybe get some food for the day. And now you're selling multiple homes and you just bought your own home in Downey and you've quit drinking. And I mean,
Yeah.
you're just, it's a total 180. And I just want everybody to hear from you, really like how your childhood was and the decisions you made along the way that maybe weren't the best,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And now what got you to the place you are today. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. For most of my life, I grew up in South Central.
Mm-hmm.
I kept moving home to home, move school to school. I probably went to 3 or 4 different elementary schools, just due to the fact that we couldn't afford the rent, so we were always getting evicted or we had to leave because we were behind on rent. So that meant me moving to a new school, I had to make new friends. And there was times where we had to dig out of dumpsters in order to resell the cardboard that we were getting, and we'll probably only make $10-15 off of that. We were lucky; we'll make $20, and that $20 will be the money that we'll use to buy food.
It's
And
incredible.
yeah, but even before that, just growing up was really really tough. It was me and my 4 sisters. I have 4 sisters.
Mm-hmm.
2 that are older, and then two little sisters. Right.
Which one's little Jose?
That's me. I'm Spider Man.
Nice.
I still love Spider Man to this day. Um, so yeah, just growing up, my dad was an alcoholic. He was never around. He would come home drunk, and I have all these memories of him,
Mm-hmm.
which they're not good memories,
Mm-hmm.
and the memories of me growing up, which weren't really the best. And at that time, me being a kid, I thought it was very normal being in that environment.
I was just
So
going to ask you that, how it made you feel being so little. Like, were you aware that it wasn't normal, or was that kind of normal for you, but very highly uncomfortable, obviously?
it wasn't uncomfortable. I just thought that that's what life was, just this is what it is,
Yeah.
and that's it. I didn't know.
Any different?
Yeah,
Mhm.
and me just growing up with my 4 sisters, my dad being there, and being an alcoholic, he would come home, and I remember the house that we were just living in a couple months ago before I
Mhm.
bought the house in Downey. He would come home and he would be just leaning everywhere. He couldn't even walk straight, and he would try getting up the stairs sometimes, and he couldn't even get up the stairs because he was so drunk, and he would fall asleep on the stairs. And I would remember peeking out the window, and I would try to open the door for him, and my mom would tell me like, "No, don't open the door for him because if he opened the door, that meant him coming in and him, unfortunately getting aggressive towards my mom and getting very abusive." And so me seeing that as a kid, I just thought, I'm like, okay, he's just drunk again.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. He'll be sober tomorrow. And I remember him being passed out in the front yard, just completely flat on the ground, just from being drunk.
How was your dad when he was sober?
I really don't remember him being sober at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I really don't have any memories of him being sober. For the most part, it was him just always drinking or smoking a cigarette. Um, yeah, that's about it. There's really no memories of him being
Yeah.
sober and him being an actual dad. Um, yeah, so him just I always remember him. This one time he was cleaning out a van. We had a van, an Astro van.
Mhm.
I'll never forget it. I still get emotional talking about it sometimes because I think that was an
Very
event that
impactful.
just really really hurt me, you know. And it was when he was cleaning the van and he was drinking and smoking a cigarette. And at this time, he was already heavy into drinking drugs. I'm getting very abusive, and
Mm.
I remember I cried to him and I reached out to him and I hugged him, and he hugged me back, and I just told him like, "Can you please stop drinking? Like, I don't want you to drink
How
anymore."
old were you at this time?
I was very little. I was probably like that picture right there. I was small. I was still in elementary school.
Okay.
Um, and I hugged him. And I told him like, "Hey, like please stop drinking." And he hugs me, and he's like, "Okay." And I told him, "No, like promise me you're gonna stop." And like I promise. So I thought me being a kid, I'm like, all right, like he's
He
done, you know, he's
promised.
done. And he goes back into the same thing days later.
Mm.
And that always stuck with me. Even now I still think about it. I was like how could you like lie, you know? How could you
Mhm.
promise me and still do the thing that you're doing? And I remember me waking up, and at this point we're living with my grandma, but we would be in one room. It would be my four sisters, me, my mom and my dad in one room. And I was sleeping with my sister in the same bed, the four of
Mhm.
us. And I remember waking up to screams, and I still remember vividly him just raising up his arm and just punching it repeatedly. And
Who's this? Your mom?
my mom was getting hit,
Oh no.
and so my mom was begging for help, right? And no one came and helped, and I still wonder why no one came to help. And and so I go back to bed. My sister told me it's okay, like go back to bed. So at that time, I didn't know what was going on, right?
Yeah.
I had no clue until now. Like as I got older, I started realizing what he was actually doing, and so that happened. All the stuff were happening in my family, and I just can't comprehend in my head how my dad could leave. It doesn't make any sense to me how he.
Still?
Yeah, it just doesn't. I had a breakdown not too long ago of him.
Mhm.
I just don't. I can never understand how you could leave me and my four sisters. You know,
Yeah.
like we needed you. My mom needed you. My mom was working multiple jobs, a single mom, and like you just left. You
Mhm.
know, like not a worry. You did your own thing.
Have you ever thought that maybe it was because he knew he was sick and he felt you guys were better off without him?
Yeah, yeah. Like I understand why he did the stuff that he did because the way he grew up too, his dad wasn't the best either. His
Mhm.
dad would beat him up too. His dad
Yeah.
was an alcoholic. And my dad told me this one story where he hugged his dad one time, and his dad pushed him away, and he cursed him like, "Don't ever effing like hug me, like you know we don't do that. Like we're boy, like we're men. We don't hug each other." And he basically told him to get out of his face. And so his
Now
dad
I
would,
want to cry
yeah,
because your dad hugged you back
yeah,
and he promised
yeah,
and he probably meant it,
yeah,
but he just couldn't do it.
yeah. And so he told me his dad would beat him up till like his tooth were knocked out,
Yeah.
and I understand where he's coming from. Like I
Mhm.
understand it. I forgave him, and there's many times where I told myself, hey, I forgive you," and I forgave him, but I really didn't mean it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, yeah, I forgive him.
It's a hard thing.
Yeah,
I mean, and forgiveness takes time.
yeah,
You have to be patient
yeah,
with yourself. You have, 25 years of pain. So
yeah,
that does, you can't forgive that overnight.
yeah,
And so you have to be gracious with yourself is what I'm saying too when,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. So then all the stuff were happening, and then so he was never around. And he told me that when he would take us to Knott's or Six
Mhm.
Flags sometimes, and he even told me when he would take us, he would be like high off of drugs. You know, he
Mhm.
would be high off of meth or crystal meth, whatever it
Mm.
was. He was high or he was
Yeah.
drunk, right? And I never noticed it. And I mean, he took us to places. He would take us to McDonald's every week, and it's not because he wanted to.
Yeah.
My mom told me it's because my mom would beg him, like, "Hey, like, come see your kid, come see your
Mm.
kids." And even now to this day, he like like I could talk to him today
Yeah.
and I won't hear from him for the next 3 4 months.
So he's still drinking.
He's sober now. He thinks 12, 13 years sober,
Oh,
right?
really?
Yeah, and he's really into God. He goes to church. He's a good person, all
Mhm.
right. It just he's not the type where like I constantly have to go looking for him. Right?
Well, he's a product of his environment,
Yeah.
right? Not that he can't change,
Yeah.
because we can all change. We can all make a choice.
Yeah.
But, for whatever reason, I don't know, right? And that's you said you just decided to go to counseling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm so glad, because I think it's so necessary, because we're not professionals, and we can talk to so many friends and pastors and all these people, right? And even the professionals don't know everything, but they do have a little more training to maybe help us dig deeper, a little more understanding in people's psyche. Because for your dad, I mean, he's sober. That's huge.
Yeah.
And who knows, being around you might really make him sad, because he could be feeling guilt.
Yeah. And I've had conversations with him, and he's telling me like, "Hey, like, don't you think I know that I messed up? Like, I know, like, I messed up bad, and I'm sorry that I messed up your life and everyone's lives. There's nothing I can do about it, and I have to live with that every day." And he teared up a little bit,
Yeah.
And
That had to feel good to hear.
yeah, it did. It did. It felt really good, just knowing that he knows that he messed up, right? Not to throw it in his face or anything, but
But he
just him
acknowledged.
acknowledging it, because he's not an emotional person, or he won't ever show it, right?
Yeah.
And
But you know why?
yeah, but and again too, the reason too, it's he's old enough to know that, hey, like, right from wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of it was just resentment, because growing up we didn't have any food. When we moved to Huntington Park for 5 years, I was there.
Mm-hmm.
The lights went off because we couldn't afford to pay the light bill. We ate rice and beans for like weeks. So my mom would always try to make like tacos out of it. She'll try to get creative with the
Yeah.
rice and beans, because
Well,
she knew
that's
we'll get
usually
tired of
what
it.
we eat as Mexicans. Rice and
And,
beans with everything, and
yeah.
lettuce and tomato.
Yeah, and then
Tortilla.
it was a 2-bedroom,
Yeah.
small house, and I didn't have any. I had clothes, but I would wear like swimming shorts to elementary,
Mm.
or I had socks.
Mm-hmm.
I had like shoes, and sometimes they were just destroyed. And I would get bullied a lot in elementary,
Yeah.
because I didn't have nice clothes or anything, right? And I would always look at all these kids, with nice clothes, nice shoes, and they just looked happy.
Yeah.
And I knew what I had to come home to, and I started understanding a little bit more in elementary what I was kind of going through.
Yeah. How old? 6? Elementary, 6, 7, 8?
I would say like 7, 8.
Like 7, 8.
Yeah. And this was when I was in 4th grade. I remember vividly, because in
Okay.
4th grade, that's when everything started clicking.
Yeah.
And my mom was another guy, and I would call him my dad, right? Because I really looked up to him.
Yeah.
And so since we didn't have any money, we would dig out of dumpsters, like those big dumpsters that are behind factories.
Mhm.
And me and my little sisters, my 2 little sisters, older sisters, excuse me, would jump over, and we would just get all the cardboard and push it in the van, and then we'll go sell it, and we'll make $15-$20 off of it. And I remember perfectly, we'd all go to Jack in the Box and get I think the tacos there at that time,
Yeah.
like 3 for $1.
Yeah.
And we'd always go there constantly, because that's all we could afford.
Yeah.
And those were like the fun days when we'd actually get like those tacos, because
Yeah.
that was like we would
A
eat really good,
celebration.
right? Yeah. And sometimes we'd get pizza too. So when we got pizza, it was amazing. And that happened.
So let's fast forward to your teen years.
Mhm.
So you grow up, right? You live this way. How long? Like really struggling when you were younger.
I would say up until like 9th, 10th grade.
Okay.
10th
And then did you start working?
No.
Your mom just got like things just started kind of.
It didn't get easier. I guess it got I guess since I was older, I was more understanding. I would say the struggle completely stopped probably not till like last year.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we're still struggling,
Mhm.
Even then, even us buying the house in Downey,
Yeah.
we're still struggling.
Well, yeah, but now you own a home, so
Yeah.
it's a different kind of struggle. Like
Yeah.
you're struggling for yourself, but which is amazing, and congratulations again.
Yeah.
So did your dad left you when you were how old?
My dad left. I was very little. I felt like when I was in 1st or 2nd grade, probably even before. I was very little.
And
But
then
I remember perfectly of everything that happened.
And then I know you started drinking too.
Yeah. Yeah.
How old were you when you started drinking yourself?
Like 18.
Well, because you've had your own issues, right? So now that you were having your own issues, you told me about 4 car accidents.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And you got in trouble and life wasn't going great because you were drinking. Were you able to empathize with your dad a little more when you were drinking? Or why do you think you were drinking too?
A big part of it was my dad. I was very mad at him.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So anger.
yeah, I was angry, sad,
Mm-hmm.
just disappointed. I'm like, this is just what life is, and if he had a drinking problem, then I'm an excuse, and I have a drinking problem, right? It genetically got transferred over to me, so you know that's
So
an
you kind of
excuse.
just owned it.
Yeah, yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
then, but there was times where I would tell myself, "No, I don't have a drinking problem. I'm
Yeah.
just young. Like this is part of life. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's normal. Eventually I'll stop." And
What made you realize it was a problem? Because you think after the first car accident, you realize it was a problem, right?
well, I didn't realize there was a problem until a couple months ago.
Okay.
Um, there's people that told me that I had a drinking problem, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to accept it. I was like, no, I don't have a drinking problem because I could stop tomorrow, or I could stop for a week or two, right? And I could drink again,
Mm-hmm.
So for me, in my head, a person as an alcoholic is someone who constantly drinks every single day, 24/7, right?
And that's why I really wanted you on here
Yeah,
too, because yes, people do have this misconception of what an alcoholic is, but you have very functional alcoholics
yeah.
and they just drink every day. They go to work every day, but they drink every day and they won't call themselves an alcoholic. But
Yeah, and there was times where I think it really started clicking when I started drinking in the morning. Like I would drink the night before, and I'll pick up a beer in the morning, or the beer that's left over. I would finish it off, and I'll grab another one, and then I'll drink while I'm in the shower.
really?
Yeah, and then I
Was
would.
that like the hair of the dog? Were you trying to like get it back, like get more energy, or it was just because it was
Which
available?
it's available. I was like, you know what? Like Saturday, Sunday, like I'm gonna show property. I'm gonna go to work. Like I'm good. Like it's okay. I deserve it. But in
Yeah.
reality, I didn't deserve it because
Yeah.
I was still in South Central. We were struggling. Like there's nothing to celebrate or drink for, and so I was constantly doing that. And on the way to work, I would drink a beer also. And by that time, I was already like I was feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
And but that never led to anything being productive.
Yeah.
I was really tired and exhausted, and yeah, it was just a cycle that kept happening every week. And I noticed I was drinking more and more because it started on a Friday, Saturday, and maybe Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would drink on a weekday or every other day, and it just started being more constant.
Yeah. So what made you, I mean, when I was younger too, though, I used to drink a lot. I was also very angry though at my parents because, they had a great marriage till I
Yeah.
was 18. And then, I mean, obviously there was issues. They wouldn't have got divorced, but they did. But that's all I knew. So then I was really angry. And we'd go out like Tuesday through Sunday. And honestly, it was like, I never thought I had a problem, but I did too. So it is part of being young, but the drinking in the morning and then, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would black out a lot too. Nights
Yeah.
where I don't remember how I got home, or um, certain times where I would get a little bit aggressive towards people,
Mm.
and yeah, just waking up hungover, and I would drink again the day after.
Did you ever think of your dad when you were acting like that?
No, no. Like I wanted to block him out completely.
But so you didn't even like put two and two together. It was just the reason why you were drinking and because he drank. But you never said like, I don't want to be him at that moment.
No, I was never really thinking about that.
You didn't associate the two.
No, yeah, I wanted nothing to do with them, and I think that's a big part why I started drinking because
Yeah.
I was like,
You were trying to forget something and he's
Yeah.
a part of you.
yeah, and at that time too, I was very mad and I was invulnerable. I didn't talk to anybody. I was hanging out with people who were drinking also, and there was just nothing good that was coming with all of that.
Right.
Everything just started adding up little by little. I mean, I did break down once was when I came home to my mom. And I told her, hey, like I don't want to drink anymore. Like, I'm tired of it. And I was 18, 19 at this time.
Yeah.
And so I went to an AA for like about 2 weeks, not that long, right?
Yeah.
And so I got out of there, and I'm like, I'm never gonna be like them because I saw my problems and I saw the other people's problems, and my problems were not big as theirs.
Yeah.
And so I stopped, and then I started again, and it was a whole cycle. I would stop multiple times. I stopped maybe over 10 times, and I'll do it again. I'll stop, and I'll do it again.
The craziest thing too is that you're hearing their problems once they finally got to AA.
Yeah.
But they all start the same, right?
Yeah.
Little by little, little by little. So what is it that made you decide like this is it? Now I'm done. Because you've been sober now for how long?
4 months, 124 days.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And how do you feel?
I feel good. It hasn't felt like 4 months. I'm
Yeah.
kind of surprised that it's been 4 months.
But what was the trigger
that made me stop?
that finally made you say this now I'm really done?
It was a couple things. The biggest one is I met someone who helped me out a lot with it. I met her a couple months ago.
You got nervous when you said that.
And so I met her a couple months ago, and she made me realize that it's okay to be an alcoholic. And she was just understanding.
Yeah.
She was understanding, and she didn't judge me. She didn't tell me anything. Like, she accepted, like, hey, like, it's okay to be an alcoholic. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. And it's funny because she even offered to go to AA with me.
Yeah.
Like, if you want me to go with you, I'll stand by you and I'll go with you. And
I went to AA with a friend before.
Yeah, and like I think it was her being understanding and being very loving.
Yes,
like
accepting.
Yeah, because she, like, I don't know how to explain it, but she loved me in a way that I've never felt it.
Oh.
Like, this person is amazing, right? And I didn't have anything to offer them. Like, I was at a point in my life where I was drinking constantly. Like, she had every reason to leave if she wanted to, and she didn't. And that helped me out a lot too. Just her being understanding and loving and caring for me. I've never been cared for the way she's cared for me.
Unconditionally.
Yeah. Like, she didn't judge me. And like, she didn't care where I live, what car I drove. She didn't care about any of that. She just wanted to be with me. And I never understood that. And I still to this day question, I'm like, what is it about me that you really like? I don't see it, right?
But she saw in you what
Yeah.
you didn't even see in yourself.
Yeah.
Yet.
And so when I was living in South Central, I was very scared for her to come over because I live in South Central.
Yeah.
She lived in a really nice area, so I'm like, damn, she sees the way I live. She's gonna leave and all this. And she didn't judge me, and she's a big reason why we got the house in Downey too. Because she's like, hey, like, why are you still living like this? Like, you and your family don't deserve this. Like, move out of here, and you guys could do it. And so knowing her those last couple months has really helped me. Just her being understanding, and I knew at one point I had all these warnings. And I just couldn't keep doing it. I had about 3 or 4 car crashes already. Times where I drove drunk, don't remember how I got home.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah, and like me falling asleep in the middle of the street with the door open and Watts at 3 a.m. And it was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And I started realizing because I went sober before for 101 days. And when I went sober the 101 days, like, my business started doing really, really, really well. Like, everything was connecting.
Yeah.
And I started drinking again on the end of December. Little by little, it started my tolerance. I started drinking more and more and more and more. And I would tell myself, all right, I'm going to stop next week. I'm going to stop this day. Oh, I only drink this day. And just constantly, it was just getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
And I just knew I couldn't keep doing it. And I got in the car crash again in March. And I wasn't drunk, but the reason why it happened was because of alcohol. I was out with friends going home at 3 a.m, and a car hit me randomly. And I knew if I never drank, that never would have happened.
So you were drinking that night?
I was drinking that day, but I sobered up at a friend's house.
Oh.
So I left at 3 a.m. I was dropping off another friend. And so I was 10 minutes away from my house, and then the car crash just happened out the blue, like, just randomly. Like, just really, really randomly. And like, I didn't see the car coming.
Did you ever get a DUI?
No, like, no DUI.
So you've been very blessed.
Yeah, nothing. You've never been arrested. Yeah, not zero.
So you caught it right on time.
Yeah.
You got yourself on check right on time.
Yeah, and I'd be lying if I say like, hey, like I try to convince myself that I don't have a drinking problem,
Hmm.
but I know I do, and it's okay that I do.
Thanks for your honesty. I
Yeah,
really appreciate your vulnerability
yeah,
because, not many people are willing to say that, especially on camera. I mean, we don't know who's going to see this, right? But it's a part of life. And how else is somebody going to know that it's okay to ask for help
yeah,
unless somebody like you is vulnerable enough to speak up and to say, like, it's okay to say you have a problem and it's okay to ask for help.
yeah. And I was very scared to be open. Um, I was just scared. I thought people were gonna judge me. People were going to say just say mean things,
Yeah.
right? And when I opened up, that's when everything changed. I didn't realize how much support I had until I actually spoke up.
So, what were their reactions?
Some people were shocked, right? Or some people were surprised that I had a drinking problem.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people never assumed that I would drink or be the way I am.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them were saying, hey, like, I'm here. Like, if you ever need someone to talk to, like, here's my number. But they mean it when they say
Mm-hmm.
that, like, they would say, I'm being honest, like, call me if you need anything, or if you want somebody to talk to, or if you just want to be with someone, like, call me. Like, I'm here for you.
And then you found out also that a lot of people you kind of knew, not a lot, but quite a few also had struggled in the past too, right?
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of people. And when I open up to people, they open back up to me too. And, yeah, but more people are way more open up to it than before, I guess, because they thought I was gonna judge them because they maybe in their eyes they didn't see anything wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I opened up more, yeah, I was scared to open up to my family.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't want to tell them I'm 2 months over, 3 months over, 4 months over, and because I was embarrassed that my
Mm-hmm.
own family was gonna judge me. And my sisters are happy for me. I know they're happy for me. They tell my friend that they're happy I'm not drinking anymore.
I love that.
I had a conversation with my mom. I think yesterday, the day before, and she told me like I'm really proud of you for not drinking.
That had to feel good.
Yeah, I put my mom through a lot. From 18 to 25, and that's the biggest kind of one of the biggest regrets I have is that it took me 7 years to finally get it together. And I know my mom's getting older, and like there's nothing I could do to take that to get that time back.
I want you to give yourself grace.
Yeah,
You have to give yourself grace. You're young. You're still very young.
yeah,
And you've done a lot for your young age, and you didn't have the easiest upbringing. That was in your home, not by your choice, but that's what you saw and that's what
yeah,
you knew. So you have to give yourself that grace because now you're breaking that chain. So you have to look at the positive side of it. Yeah, you did it, but you found out soon enough and now you're changing it and now your family's living in Downey
yeah,
in a house that you helped them purchase.
yeah,
So, you got to let that go. You didn't have the best example to even know how to be a young responsible person, let alone young adult where everybody's partying, but
yeah,
not everybody has a problem, right? I mean, everybody, mostly everybody, at least where I grew up, we were all partying all the time.
yeah,
So I mean, I would say for where we grew up, it's kind of a normal way of growing up. Like that's your childhood. And mostly everybody, they have that time, whether it's in college or, backyard parties or clubs or whatever. But, that's what they do during those years.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you've taken it a step further and you've decided to never do it again, which is huge.
yeah. And good things are really happening in my life, and it scares me a little bit sometimes. Um,
Imposter syndrome is real.
yeah,
Know that. That's something you could talk to your therapist about
hmm,
because, like I said, you had a lot of years of not feeling good enough. If your dad doesn't love you, why? Your dad left you, why? Right? I'm not good enough. So now you're good enough, but deep down, your little boy still isn't sure. And I speak from experience because my little girl is still struggling. And I grew up very confident, but life has a way of beating you up, and we have to just roll with the punches and have grace
yeah,
for ourselves because we're still doing it, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I know I'm gonna be fine. I'm going to be
Yeah.
fine. And I always tell myself if I'm ever a dad one day, I know I'm gonna be a really good dad. Like
Hmm.
I see it 100%.
Yeah.
I'm be a great dad. I didn't want kids before. I didn't want to get married. I didn't want a girlfriend.
Hmm.
I didn't want any of those things
Yeah.
because I was mad. I was like, I don't need anyone. Like I got me. Like I'm gonna do this myself.
Yep.
I'm good, right? And when I started being open and being vulnerable, that's when everything kind of started opening. Now I want to get married. I want to have a nice wedding.
Yeah.
I want
Because
to
you
have
feel
kids.
worthy, right?
Yeah, I want to have kids. I want to be a provider. And before, so I used to think if I ever have a wife, like I'm like, no, she's gonna work. She's gonna pay half and half, right? I had a different mentality,
Hmm.
and now it's like, no, I'm gonna be a provider, like no matter what, right? Even if I have to work 1,000 hours a day, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And
But I know your girl.
yeah, and and
She wouldn't want you to work that much. She'd want you
yeah,
home, so she'll help you
yeah.
out.
Like I like working.
Yeah.
It helps me.
Hmm.
It helps me just be happy. That's what makes me happy at the end
Yeah.
of the day, right? And I know my mom gets a lot of peace from me not drinking and me
Yeah.
just being dedicated to just working. And so I also want to help out my little nephews and my little nieces when they get older, right? If they ever
Yeah.
need
Of
somebody, I want to
course.
be the cool uncle.
Yeah,
You know?
you want to be the example
Yeah,
now. You
yeah,
want to be that example to show them that it doesn't matter. You can do it. You can change. You can grow. You can make a lot of
yeah,
money.
yeah. And I think too, they help me out a lot. My little nieces and nephews,
Hmm.
they help me get sober. Like I have a niece. Um, her name's Sophia, right?
Hmm.
And whenever I look at her, I don't know how to explain it, but when I look at her, I could have a million things going on that are bad, and whenever
Yeah.
I look at her, everything just kind of goes away.
Oh, I'm a
And
grandma, Jose.
yeah, and like I want to be her godfather so bad. Like I'll do anything,
Yeah.
and I pray that it happens one day.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, it's okay, right? And it just, I know if I go back to drinking or if I go back to the stuff I was doing before, I'm not gonna be able to help them out in the future right now, right?
Hmm.
And I don't ever want anyone to worry for me again.
Yeah.
And I know they worry like, oh, what if
Hmm.
he's gonna drink again tomorrow or the day after? Whenever I'm at a party and there's alcohol around that, I'm gonna drink. But I know I'm not gonna touch the alcohol again.
Yeah.
'Cause I had too many opportunities where they're very close.
So we know now in your future, you see yourself married
Hmm.
with a wife and kids, and you're the provider. What else do you see other than you working? Do you have any passions? Do you have any like other passions?
I want to travel. I want
Oh,
to travel. I want to go like Tokyo. Tokyo, like my number one spot right now where I
hmm.
want to go. New York is one of them as well, and just explore. Just have the money for it, right?
Yes.
I like going to UFC events, right?
Oh,
And those
yeah.
are costly,
Yeah.
and I want to be able to do that. Go to
Yeah.
boxing fights just because I can, because I have the
Yes.
money. The stuff I didn't have growing up, right? I didn't have any money growing up, so the fact that even buying a suit, right, that makes me
Hmm.
feel good
Hmm.
that I could afford it. Just helping other people, and just giving as much as I
Yeah.
can. A goal of mine is to help people who are struggling with rent or income. Just give them a couple hundred, give them 1,000, and just help them out. And a long term goal I have is to open up a building where I help people get sober, right? Like in AA,
Oh,
help
nice.
them get
Like
sober.
sober living.
Hmm.
I
That's
love it.
something that I want to do, and I feel for them, right? I
Hmm.
know some people say that alcohol is a choice, like being
Hmm.
an alcoholic is a choice, that it's not a disease, right? And I think that way too. I'm like, yeah, it's a choice. But it is a disease,
Yeah.
It's something that's very, very hard. And I
Hmm.
know people say, if you really want to stop drinking, then you'll stop.
Hmm.
But it's easier said than done. I've
Hmm.
tried it dozens of times to stop, and it just goes back to that same routine. It doesn't get any easier, but there is ways to go about it, right? And
So, what advice would you give somebody who's struggling like you were? Like, on and off, I don't have a problem. What would be like, what would you suggest? Would you suggest they go to a meeting, just check it out? Would you suggest they evaluate their life, speak to somebody, call a friend?
yeah, I would say be vulnerable, be open, speak to someone, whether it's a family, a friend, a girlfriend, wife, whatever it is, speak to
Hmm.
someone.
I do have to say something about that because you said your family is supportive, but there's a lot of families that aren't supportive. And I need them to know that too, right? Because there's a lot of families that if you're the only one that's not drinking and everybody's drinking, then, they don't want you around. Like
Yeah.
then you're making them look at themselves. So just be careful who you guys do ask or do speak to and do open up to, that they have your best interest at heart and that they're probably not drinkers either at all, right? Maybe.
Well, for me, so I grew up around alcohol a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did get sober, there was people that told me, "Oh, just take a shot or drink, or like just one shot." Right? I understood that I couldn't have just one drink.
Mm-hmm.
Like I understood that from the beginning. If I have one drink, that one drink then turn to 10, and I'm upside down. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So a big thing that helped me too was therapy. That has helped me out a lot, and just confronting stuff that has bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, my dad. Right? That was one thing I've been avoiding for so long. I spoke to him, and it was very hard.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, very hard. And so when I spoke to him, a big part of me like was released. Right, I was a little bit calmer. Right, so now was another thing. I'm like, okay, now I have to deal with my drinking. Right,
Yeah.
and so once I deal with my drinking, I'm like, okay, now I have to deal with my mindset because I'm very negative when it comes to things. So it was just like figuring out the root of it. What was the problem?
Mm-hmm.
And I knew deep down we all know what the problem is.
Yeah.
It's just we try to avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very, very hard. It's very uncomfortable. No one wants to talk about it. And I don't like crying. But it helped me out a lot. I knew if I wasn't open, I wouldn't be here.
Well, because we just keep it all trapped inside, and then it
It
just
builds up.
yes,
builds up.
it's like carrying a bag of rocks
Yeah.
around. And just like they say, the picture, right? It's
Yeah.
like, get this monkey off my back. I don't want it anymore. It
Yeah.
just becomes very heavy.
Yeah.
So, for your business, how did you grow your business within all of this? Did you get a coach? Did you just bust your butt? You have like support?
I have a partner of mine that I work with. His name's Ali.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working with him since I was 21. Right?
Oh,
26
okay.
now. So
How did you meet Ali?
I met him in Taro at
At another office.
Yeah, yeah. He's the first person I ever spoke to. I mean, it's funny. I still remember vividly when I met him. I was in the bathroom and I was washing my hands, and
Yeah.
he was washing his hands. And hey, what's up, bro? My name's Ali. If you ever need anything, like I'm here for you. Like let me know. I'm like, all right, cool. Right? He's very high energy. So
Mhm.
me, I'm very quiet. I'm like, all right, cool. Like this guy's kind of weird, but okay. And there were some deals I needed help with, and he would always help me out. And so we started building a relationship little by little, right? And so he told me, hey, like come join my team. And I'm like, okay, like I'll think about it. It took me like a whole year to think about it and finally make the move. And I finally made the move to Century 21.
Mm-hmm.
And so our relationship got really strong. We built the trust, we built everything. And he's a big part of why I've came a long way. He's done a lot with my the stuff that I was doing.
Shenanigans.
The drinking, like everything. And he didn't give up. He didn't give up on me. He had every reason to drop me and to let me go. And he didn't.
So just taking someone up on an offer to kind of mentor.
He saw something in me
Yeah.
that I didn't see.
Mm-hmm.
And he was real hard on me, right? But it came out of love.
Yes.
He told me, like, why are you drinking? Like, let that go. Like, you don't need any of that. And there was times where I would go to the office not 100%, right? And he'll tell me, hey, like, go home. Like, why are you even here? Like, either you want it or you don't. Like, I don't need you on my team. If you don't want to be here, then just leave, right? And I'll take it very personal. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, like, but again, he was doing it out of love, right? And the last couple of years, he's been there for me. He's been there for me. He's like an older brother to me, right? And sometimes he's like my dad
Yeah.
because he puts me on check
Mhm.
when he has to. And so he's never gave up on me. He's helped me out a lot, and he's told me, hey, like do this, do this, do this, and he's a big reason why I know the stuff that I know now. He's a big reason why I do phone calls, why I do the open houses, why I'm good at certain things
Mhm.
because of him, right? He's took the
Mhm.
time, he's coached me through it, and he's 32, I believe. And so for me, I see him as
Yeah.
like damn, like he's
Yeah.
doing it right. And
A solid example.
yeah, he just bought a house. He has 2 houses right now.
Yeah.
And I met him when it was just him and his girlfriend. Now he's married. Now he has 2 kids. He
Uh,
bought a house.
yeah.
When I met him, he was still renting a house in Downey, and so now he has all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And me seeing that opened my eyes to what's possible.
So what's next for Jose? We have to close up now, but what's next? What do you think?
For me, it's just keep being sober. Just helping out my family more, and just my plan next is to buy some units. 2 years from now.
Right on. So I'm going to kind of put you on the spot in closing. I want you to look into the camera and to talk to anybody who's like, 5 months ago, a year ago, Jose. What would you tell them? What advice would you give them?
Now,
Yeah. Yeah. Like if they're struggling, right? Like I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not, I just drink every once in a while. Like what advice would you give them?
I would say find someone who you can trust, and just tell them 100% how you feel, and it's okay to cry. I've cried a lot the last couple months, and I've sat down and realized that, hey, like, if I keep doing this, where am I going to be 5 years from now? It's okay to get therapy. There's nothing wrong with therapy. It's okay to express your feelings. Definitely for the men out there. I know we have this stigma that men should be men, that we shouldn't cry. But just get help. Once you get help, it's gonna open a lot of doors for you, and it's gonna get better. I know there's times where it seems like it's not gonna get better, but it always does. Everything's gonna work out at the end of the day, and just go talk to someone who you trust, and I promise you that it'll get better. That you won't regret it.
Ah, beautifully said. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. That was so good. I just love the crying. Like it's okay to cry because
yeah,
we're all human and feeling is healing. If we don't feel, we can't heal. So you heard it from Jose. I'm so grateful you were here
yeah.
today.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming out and joining us. It's always a pleasure to just, sit down with somebody and have an honest conversation, about growth because we all want to grow and we've all struggled and people need to know like everybody has struggles, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And no, it wasn't for the struggles and the way I grew up. I know I wouldn't be here. I'd probably be doing something else.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm grateful for it all. It's gonna work out. It
Yes.
always does.
All right. Well, thanks guys. We'll see ya. Bye.